sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Killers at the door, a tearful apology, plus finger pointing right at the King of Pop. And that's, folks, just for starters. Hello, I'm James Curtis. Welcome to E's coverage of the Michael Jackson trial. The pop singer arrived at the Santa Marina courthouse for yet another agonizing day of accusations and more high drama. The much anticipated testimony by the accuser's mother began only after she sought protection under the Fifth Amendment. The judge in the case, Judge Rodney Melville, ruled that she could indeed avoid answering any questions about allegations of welfare fraud. The defense motions to keep the mom from testifying at all because of that invocation and for a mistrial were, surprise, denied. Once direct examination got underway, however, Assistant District Attorney Ron Zonin brought up the unanticipated fallout from the now infamous Michael Jackson documentary produced by Martin Bashir. Here's what the accuser's mother told the jurors according to the courtroom transcripts.
All right. The telephone call from Mr. Jackson in early February that went to Gavin, did you at some point get on the telephone with him?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He had told me that, well, Gavin's talking to him first. He had told me that Gavin was in danger and that there had to be a press conference because of this Bashir man. All
right. Now, did you know what he was talking about, this Bashir matter?
No.
Did you ask him to explain that?
No.
Did he offer any explanation as to what that was?
No. At first I was telling him no, because he wanted him to come to Miami. But when he told me, you know, Janet, David...
Why don't you hold on a second? We're going to take it question by question.
Okay, sure.
Listen carefully to the question asked, all right?
Okay.
Did he explain to you at any time what this documentary was?
No. Not there, not on the phone.
Next, death threats and how to deal with them. You may need that information. And a program note, you're going to hear a David referred to. David is, of course, that bad dad ex-husband of this witness that we've talked about in the past, and he's the father of the accuser.
I understand. We're just talking about the phone conversation right now.
Oh, okay.
Did he mention the name Martin Bashir in this phone conversation?
He just said Bashir.
Okay. Did you know what that meant at that time? He said to you that your child was in danger.
Yes.
What did he say with regards to your child being in danger?
That he was receiving death threats. He was in danger.
Did that alarm you?
Yes.
Did you believe what he said at that time?
It's until he started telling me that the children had shared with him about how David was a bad guy and because my guard was here, and when he started telling me these things, All
right, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
But right now, with regards to your son being in danger,
okay,
did he describe the nature of the danger to you?
Just death threats because of this Bashir thing.
Did he tell you who the people were who were issuing the death threats?
No.
Did he use the word death threats or the term death threats?
He said he was in danger.
Did he tell you what he wanted Gavin to say in this press conference?
No. I don't remember.
Did you agree that Gavin could go to Miami?
No.
What did you tell Mr. Jackson?
Well, I told him that if my son is in danger, then me and my kids have to go.
Did you ask him at any time if he contacted the police?
No.
Did you have any discussion with him about what he was doing to remedy this problem of danger?
No, I just trusted him.
This witness, Ricky Kleeman, Sean Chapman, Holly, is hard to handle for the party who's calling her. The prosecution is trying to rein her in. That can't be a good start.
Well, it's not a good start, but it's a reality. We know this witness is going to be this way. She has testified at a preliminary hearing. The prosecution certainly knows her well. This is not a surprise for them. They have to go with what they've got and do the best they can.
And Tom Mesereau does a great job of just sitting back. He doesn't object. We've seen him objecting with other witnesses. Yeah. But in this witness, he sits back with his arms folded and lets her just do her thing, lets the jury see who and what she is.
Like Grandma used to say, give them enough rope to hang themselves. Let's talk about what happened at the very beginning of this testimony. Before the woman even utters a word in front of the jury, outside of the presence of the jurors, she invokes the Fifth Amendment.
Which, of course, means that she's potentially committed criminal conduct of fraud and perjury. And particularly these allegations of fraud and perjury done at the same time that she's making these what the defense says are false allegations against Michael
And
Jackson.
Ricky, the fairness, go ahead.
I would say it's still a win for the prosecution, though, that they get her to testify, because the judge could have prevented her from testifying altogether, which is what the defense asked for.
I don't think the defense really wanted that, though. The defense wants her to testify. I think they're happy that motion was denied.
No doubt about that. Clearly. But, and I want to continue with this on the other side of this portion of testimony that we're about to listen to. The whole idea of fairness, folks, about a witness, a key, pivotal prosecution witness, being able to invoke the Fifth Amendment on an area that is very, very important to the defense. Anyway, we'll continue with this. It's going to be a long discussion. As this witness testimony continues, remember, this is the complaining witness, Gavin's. This is his mom. Gavin's mom relies on Daddy Michael. Another programming note, you're going to hear the names Ronald and Dieter. They refer to associates, unindicted co-conspirators of Michael Jackson.
Had you talked with anybody during the course of the trip about this danger that Mr. Jackson had spoken to you about?
No. No.
When you got to the hotel, did you have a conversation finally with Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
How long had you been at the hotel before you met up with Mr. Jackson?
Hours, because we had arrived during that time, and it was already the day of.
Who else was present during the course of this conversation?
Okay, the conversation?
Yes.
Just me and the kids and him.
Did he talk with you about the issue of this danger to the children?
Yes.
What did he say?
He spoke to all three of my kids and me, and he spoke in a very normal voice, a very male voice. And this is where I became aware that all three of my children were in danger. He told me to trust him, believe him. He's a father figure, be like a father to all three of my kids, basically telling us he's going to protect us, protect my kids, to do everything that Ronald and Dieter tell him, because this is what's going to fix the problem. He even had told me that he has read, he knows what to do in these situations, because he's read hundreds of books on psychology, and he knows what to do in these kinds of things, what kind of frame of mind that these people were threatening my children are. And he had cried, and I just thought, what a nice guy,
Yeah. Next, so many questions, so few answers.
All right. Did you ask him specifically about the nature of the threats to your children?
No. I was just like a sponge, believing him, trusting him.
Did he tell you the nature of the threats to your children?
Because of the Bashir thing?
But did he tell you who these people were?
No.
At any point in time, did he say to you that the police were or were not being contacted?
No.
Did he ask anything of you or your children while you were there in this meeting?
In this meeting, no. No.
Do you know why you were in Miami?
To do a press conference.
Did he talk with you about a press conference?
No.
Sean Chapman Holly, we're going to have some more opportunity to tear apart this witness, which is what Tom Mesro does a little later on. But for now, I want to deal with this issue, this Fifth Amendment issue. The whole idea of prior bad acts coming into this trial is something that we've debated hotly, but it's in, as Ricky is fond of saying. It's in, we have to deal with it. The equity, the fairness, if you will, of this woman being able to be protected from the truthfulness, indeed her character, when the character of the defendant is being so heartily assaulted.
Right, and that was the thrust of the defense argument, asking for her to have no testimony at all. If they're going to protect her on this Fifth Amendment thing, the defense argued she should not be allowed to testify at all. Because it is critical, if she has lied about welfare, she's lied to the government about whether or not she's entitled to welfare benefits, and potentially committed perjury. The jury should get to hear that if she gets to testify about all this other stuff. But again, I still think that the defense is happy that this witness gets to testify and has to invoke her Fifth Amendment privilege. Really, the judge tells the jury she's invoked this privilege. They've got to infer that,
I can't wait to hear your
witness.
take, because we need to talk about really the prosecution's benefit in this, Ricky. I think it's tough to find. When we return, why Gavin's mom feared every knock on the door. Stay with us.
The reenactments and commentary in this program may contain frank talk of a sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back. We've heard so many accounts of what happened on that flight Back to California from Miami now. It's time for yet another version. This time the accuser's mother gives her side of that story. Here's what the jurors heard according to the courtroom transcripts.
Now, at some time while you were on that plane, did you see an event that caused you concern?
Yes.
What did you see?
Okay. Please don't judge me.
If you could, just answer the question. Tell us what it was that you saw.
Please don't judge me. At that time, I hadn't slept for so long. And when everybody had fallen asleep, and it was hours into the flight, I hadn't gotten up. And I figured this was my chance to look and see what was going on back there. So I got up, and that's when I saw Michael licking Gavin's head. I thought it was me. I thought I was seeing things. I thought it was me. When we got off the airplane, I asked my son, I asked him, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I'm okay." And that was it.
Do you know if Gavin was awake or asleep at the time?
He was asleep at the time.
How could you tell?
Because his head was on his chest.
Okay. Where was Mr. Jackson's arms at that time?
Like this.
He had an arm around Gavin.
Yes.
Now, I want you to describe what it was you saw. You said you saw him lick him. What part of his head?
Like this. Over and over.
All right. What part of his head was it? Point to your head where it was.
Right here.
Actually in his hair?
Yes.
And do you mean the side of his head?
Yes.
Okay. And you said over and over. How many times did you see that?
It was just over and over.
All right. Are we talking about a few seconds worth or a few minutes worth? What?
I couldn't tell you.
Next, Gavin's mother tries to figure out just who are the bad guys.
Did you have concerns about Ronald and Dieter at that point?
Yes. It escalated towards the middle end.
What did either one of them tell you about this rebuttal? What did they tell you that was going to be?
In answer to everything of the living with Michael Jackson, they were concerned about how he looked. They weren't concerned about my children, me, anything else, only him.
Did they explain to you what the rebuttal had to do with your children's safety?
Yeah, this is another phrase. That would appease the killers. I heard that so many times here. Just
All right. Somebody actually used the word killers.
Yes.
Who?
Him. Michael, Ronald, Dieter, later on Frank, Vinny. And you know what? They ended up being the killers.
All right. I want you to listen to the question that's being asked and only ask that question. Answer that question.
Okay.
Answer this question only, all right? Now, who was the first person who mentioned to you killers?
Michael.
Where was that?
That was in Miami.
Ricky Kleeman, I am trying. And by the way, we should let you know that the Frank Tyson and Vinny Amon that you hear are associates of Michael Jackson. They are also unindicted co-conspirators. I'm trying. With this woman's testimony, it is, and this actress is doing a great job, according to the published reports by all the reputable news organizations, that this woman's over the top. You don't get to ask this woman about fraudulent lying conduct with this kind of potentially outrageous story.
It's all right. It's fine. Because ultimately what the jury hears is that from the judge's own mouth, that she's not going to testify about welfare fraud and perjury as being that she took her Fifth Amendment privilege. So the jury still gets it. I wanted to answer your question about benefit to the prosecution that you had asked before the break. Number one, false imprisonment count cannot be made without this witness's testimony. True. They do not have it. And number two, the licking image, I think, is really fascinating coming from her because she has the ability, as the witness in the airplane, to say that something much worse went on, and she doesn't.
She doesn't, but I can hear the wheels in Sean Chapman-Holley's mind turning already, and you'll get to hear what those wheels have to say in just a moment. As Gavin's mom continues to testify, just remember, folks, you can't create a positive image unless you look good. Another programming note, you've heard the name before, Jesus Salas. You'll remember he is the former house manager at Neverland.
All right. Now, during that period of time that you were at Neverland, before you left with Jesus, did you go any place out of Neverland?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
Ronald and Dieter said, like I told you about Michael's positive PR, and they wanted to show that he's doing things for the mother and the kids, and, you know, so they had me so wrapped up, I believed everything they said.
Miss,
Yes.
where did you go?
Okay, I went to, like, a beauty place, and, oh, but get this.
Miss,
I'm paying for it.
Miss,
That's right.
where did you go?
Okay, I went and got my legs waxed.
Okay.
And the key thing there,
Hold on. Hold on.
I'll pay for it because it was in replacement of my things.
All right. I want you only to answer the question that's asked of you.
Okay,
I want you to listen to the question that's asked. Would you do that?
sure.
Okay. You went to a beauty salon of some nature. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Did you have a body wax?
No,
All right. You had your legs waxed.
yes,
What else?
that's it.
All right. Whose idea was it to do that?
Ronald and Dieter.
How did they come up with a beauty parlor?
Because they wanted to show that they were doing something for the mother. Positive PR.
Okay, next, who did the accuser's mom count on when she thought her family might be killed?
Were you calling Frank back? Was he leaving messages? Were you returning his call?
The ones I returned, probably, maybe at that time before returning to Neverland, I think maybe once or 3 times. Definitely less than 5. The rest were all him,
Did you believe there was a danger to...
and that's maybe.
Did you believe there was a danger to your children at that time?
Yes, I believed them. I believed you.
Did Frank, in any of his conversations with you, tell you who it was who posed a danger to your children?
No, the killers. You know. Now when somebody knocks, I say, okay, it's either a subpoena or a killer.
All right, Sean. I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, you know, this witness serves 2 great purposes for the defense.
Right.
One is she's not believable because she's loopy, she's crazy, she's going off on these tangents, she can't be controlled. I don't think that she's a believable witness. But also, it demonstrates the influence that she has over the accuser,
And that's
over
the real
Gavin.
key. That's the real
right.
key.
This is his primary influence in his life. And this is the guy who's saying that Michael Jackson did something to him. We have to question his credibility if this is the primary influence.
I have to agree with that, Ricky.
But wait, let me give the other side. The prosecution says, and certainly there are jurors who may believe this, that this is exactly the kind of family that becomes a family of victims. People who are sexual predators do not prey on people of strength. They prey on people of weakness. And I do think the fact that she's loopy tells us something about her and also tells us something different about Gavin. Gavin, who is going to develop a daddy relationship, a trusting relationship
out of desperate need,
with
given
Michael
this
Jackson.
mom who he has to live with. But, you know, I hearken back to that so-called rebuttal video that I had a chance to see with my own eyes in the listening room at that Santa Maria courthouse. When you compare the woman you see on the stand and here right now through this excellent actress and the woman on the tape who is Gavin's mom, it ain't good, folks, for the prosecution, in my humble opinion. When we return, yesterday we heard from Major Stepdad. Now it's Bad Dad. That's David Revisited. Stay with us.
The reenactments and commentary in this program may contain frank talk of a sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back. The accuser's mother, as she continues to testify, it seems to become a choice between the king of pop or the bad dad. Who do you trust? Here's what happened, according to the courtroom transcripts.
You have references in this interview, or conversations about Michael Jackson and Frank being family.
Yes,
What was that about?
because I believed him.
I'm sorry?
I believed him.
And Frank was also making those representations to you?
Yes. I wanted friends so bad.
You wanted friends?
I did.
And why is that?
Because David always told me that nobody loved me.
You had talked about David with Frank on these conversations, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell him everything that had happened with regards to...
He had already known. I was just gathering. I was still trying to help you. I was gathering paperwork to prove of David committing these crimes on me and my kids and my animals.
You were gathering up paperwork for what purpose?
To give it to you.
You need to address the question only.
Michael.
Why were you gathering up paperwork for Mr. Jackson?
Because David was interview after interview and after interview so that they could know that he's a liar.
Ricky Kleeman, let me challenge you on one point, and Sean, help me out if you would be so kind.
Be my guest. Challenge me away.
You talked about the idea of not being able to make the false imprisonment counts.
Yes.
The first counts, false imprisonment, child abduction, extortion.
Yes.
Can't make it without this woman. While true, couldn't the prosecution very well have not charged those counts at all, stuck with the crux of this case, and not had to call this?
And I've said that before. I agree with you. We have all said it. I think it would have been a cleaner case, frankly, to have gone with the molestation alone, because that's what the case is about.
Yeah.
But they did charge false imprisonment, and since they did, they need her. I just wanted to comment on something we just saw that comes out of that, of her. She is so loopy that she actually, I think she can be considered highly believable because the strictures of the courtroom don't apply to her. She says to Michael Jackson, I did it for you. No witness ever does this. Yeah. She also says directly to the jury, don't judge me, you know, and when she talks to the jury, here we find some very reputable reporters, very reputable in my opinion, who say that there was a juror shaking his head, there was another juror laughing, that they withdrew.
And that's what's so important. That's what's important. The jurors are all that's important here. Yeah. And if they're being dismissive of her, rolling their eyes, sleeping, looking away, that's what's important. They don't believe her, they don't like her, and that's going to be of critical importance to both sides and, of course, help the defense.
And that's why Mesereau's remaining quiet.
Absolutely.
Indeed he is.
Smart move.
But other jurors are taking notes furiously, also reported.
So, and it's too early to predict, but can we get a guilty verdict with the woman taking the fifth? You can't answer that till tomorrow. Ha, ha, ha. Be sure to watch our exclusive coverage of the Michael Jackson trial coverage weeknights, 7:30 p.m. right here on E. Okay, now you can answer now that we're going off the air.